Diablo 4 is coming to Steam, Sega cancels its biggest budget game, and the pronunciation of a certain Final Fantasy cat has been confirmed. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is GINX News. During a developer livestream yesterday, Blizzard announced that Diablo 4 is coming to Steam. It's available to wishlist now ahead of its release on October 17th and coincides nicely with the drop of Season 2. The move was somewhat inevitable after they released Overwatch 2 on Steam a couple of months back, but a lot of people feel like the addition of Diablo has happened earlier than expected. And there's big questions around what that means for the overall health of the game. After all, Steam takes a hefty chunk of revenue from games on its platform, so Blizzard would only make the move if they really felt the bump in players would be worth it. And you only have to look at the game's Twitch numbers to see that it's struggling right now. Hell, there was even that event over in South Korea where basically no one turned up. And it's all rather fascinating considering it was basically a dream release for Blizzard. The reviews were glowing, it was the company's fastest selling game ever, and they even made that strange decision to get Megan Fox involved. But months on, hype for the game has somewhat slipped into the abyss. Now, different people will have different reasons for why that is, but the general consensus seems to be that the game just feels grindy and boring once you finish the story. I'll be honest, I'm yet to properly sink my teeth into it, but I was personally disappointed by the skill trees while leveling. In Diablo 3, I loved how you either unlocked a new ability, rune augmentation, or passive every single level. It means you were constantly experimenting and trying new things. Now, admittedly, things might improve in Diablo 4 once I reach higher levels, but so far it's just felt a little dull. And it's a shame, there's clearly a lot of wins here. The art direction and the story are both a massive step up from the last game, but it just seems to miss that magic ingredient to keep people hooked. Oh, and the dreadful release of Season 1 certainly didn't help. But Blizzard are hoping to address things for Season 2. They've unveiled a roadmap explaining all the content you can do as you level up, but the main takeaway is that the grind to level 100 should be about 40% faster. Whether it will be enough though, well, that's where you come in. What do you think? Will Diablo 4 now fade away into the ether? Will the Steam release save it? Let us know in the comments down below. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is just a couple of weeks away, and those leading the game have been out and about praising Nintendo's young developers. Wonder sees Mario return to his classic side-scrolling 2D origins, the likes we haven't seen for over 10 years, but with a striking new art style and new wondrous mechanics, Nintendo are hoping to make the title modern and fresh. And series producer Takashi Tezuka and director Shiro Mori had an interesting tactic in order to do so. In a recent interview, they explained that they brought on board a whole load of younger staff, saying, "The thing about developers who are new is that they're not too preoccupied with it was this way, so we must do it this way. It means we can really reevaluate and think about what kind of changes and what kinds of adjustments we want to make to each of those gameplay experiences." And it's a great point. It's so often easy to fall into the trap of tradition and complacency, and shows a healthy amount of self-awareness from the leadership to actually try and tackle that. Obviously, you can swing too far the other way and risk scrapping some of the magic, but in general, I think having an open forum where everyone, irrelevant of level, can pitch ideas is a great way to develop a game. And it looks like some cool stuff is packed into Wonder. There's a whole load of new upgrades, badges that grant new abilities, and of course, the Wonder Flowers that seem to completely transform levels in all sorts of whimsical ways. We have all of that to look forward to when that drops on the 20th. Now, there's not a ton to speak about on this next one, but it's important to cover. 5 former executives from Ubisoft have been arrested in France following a year-long investigation into sexual assault and harassment within the company. Those in police custody include the former Chief Creative Officer and VP of Editorial and Creative Services. Both left Ubisoft back in 2020 following allegations of abuse, harassment and discrimination, while the plaintiff's lawyer has said the case goes beyond individual behaviour and reveals systemic sexual violence. And it's always difficult to comment on these stories, what with it being an ongoing case. Sadly, though, this seems to be a trend within the industry and society in general, let's be honest. And that's where it falls on us to call out inappropriate behaviour and make it clear it won't be tolerated. It's hard to trust most institutions responsible for preventing and punishing such crimes, but let's hope we're entering an era where people are actually held accountable for their actions. A few days back, we mentioned on the show that Sega had cancelled development of its upcoming multiplayer hero shooter, Hyenas. Well, now more details have dropped, and apparently it was shaping up to be a pretty big deal for the company. The most amazing reveal is the fact that this was going to be Sega's biggest budget game ever, more than any Yakuza or Persona, hell, even any previous Sonic game. However, despite this seemingly huge investment, the execs at Sega clearly weren't able to turn that investment into anything remotely workable. According to production staff at Creative Assembly, Sega were desperate to emulate the success of games like Destiny, Escape from Tarkov, and PUBG. However, they say development suffered from a total lack of direction, many of the leadership asleep at the wheel, attempting to break into a saturated market and not committing to doing anything adventurous with the game. Ouch. Now, these were developers who worked on the phenomenal Alien Isolation, so I'm pretty sure they know what they're talking about. And the lack of clarity from higher-ups clearly fed down into the game's marketing too. At one point it was a premium title, the next it was free to play, 1 minute Hollywood director Neil Blomkamp was involved, and the next he was out of the door. And the worst part in all of this chaos is the fact that Creative Assembly had to let go a significant portion of their staff following Hyenas' cancellation. And once again, it's the little guy that pays for the failures of those at the top. We're seeing this a lot across the industry at the moment, and quite frankly, I'm getting pretty sick of it. If anyone should be fed to the hyenas, then it should be them. There seems to be a lot of cat-related stories this week, which are always fun. After all, cats are the best, and if you disagree, then come see me after the show. And our latest feline feature is thanks to good old Final Fantasy VII. You see, fans of the game will be very familiar with this little robot cat, though a debate has always surrounded the pronunciation of its name. You see, it's spelt like this. And considering the original game didn't have any voice acting to guide the player, people came up with their own interpretations. Pronunciations fell mainly into two camps, Kate Sith and Ket She. And you may be thinking, well, that second one is a little wild, but it makes sense considering both the cat and its name are heavily inspired by the spectral black cat from Celtic mythology called the Ket She. In fact, it's also closer to the pronunciation of the original Japanese script, which in katakana is pronounced Ketoshi. However, no, that's all wrong, according to the Final Fantasy VII Twitter. They've tried to settle the debate once and for all by declaring it's pronounced Kate Sith. And I wish I could say that was the case closed, but no, the war still rages on, with the Ket She crowd insisting that everyone else is clearly wrong. And you know what? Now that I've researched the folklore behind the Ket She, I think I'm on board. That bad boy could steal people's souls. That's badass. And if you disagree, then come see me after the show. Which is right now, because that's all for today. Thanks for watching, give us a like and subscribe, give this box here a little click for yesterday's news, and we'll see you tomorrow for hopefully more cat stories.